Hi guys, last week I asked you guys for any questions that you wanted answers for a Q&A video, and you gave me so many great questions that it's going to take just a tiny bit longer for me to film that video. But one of the questions that Gay asked was for 5 interesting things that you guys might not know about me, and I figured that question was probably best answered in my traveler's notebook. So I'm going to do a page today about these 5 things and explain a little bit about them as I go along. I am just starting just in a plain page on my pocket page notebook, and I've got this Maggie Holmes. I still don't know what these things are called. They call them journaling runners, and that seems slightly appropriate. This is just the little one that has little dots. You saw at the start of the video, I did come up with a little plan here, and I have printed 5 photos to match these 5 things. Hopefully they will fit in my very roughly ruled out page here. But I just wanted to segment the page a little bit so that I could pop these 5 photos in and talk you through the 5 things. I will say I kind of struggled to think of 5 things that were one you guys might not know. I'm pretty open as far as sharing my life goes, so coming up with 5 new things was probably a little bit of a challenge. And the other thing that I really struggled with was thinking of things that, to be honest, that you might find interesting. That was a hard thing for me to come to terms with. Things that you might find interesting, I struggled with that one, I'll tell you. So Shane did actually help me come up with 5 things. I was very grateful that he could help me see that there are some things that are interesting about myself. So I just want to say before I begin that maybe this is a good challenge for you guys as well. How often have you put a page together about 5 things about yourself? I know that I don't document necessarily for other people, but if you do, this would be a fascinating page for people to actually find out some things about you that they might not know. So once this video is finished, have a think about it and put a page together, and if you feel so inclined, then share that on our Patreon page so we can all learn a little bit more about you. So as you can see, I've split my page into, well, each page into 4, and I ran the lines across three sections on the left-hand side and just 2 on the other, because the title that I'm going to stamp out is going to take up most of that room, and I only needed 5 spots for my interesting things. These are the Spencer Alphas from Citrus Twist, and I just picked out sort of 5 different colors vaguely from my photos, mostly just in rainbow order, and I'm just stamping out 5 things at the top, and then I'm going to use, I don't know that it's got a name, it was an alpha that came in the Cocoa Daisy kit when I was guest designing for them. I really love that little alpha set. It was really the perfect size for Traveler's Notebook, so I'm going to use that as my sort of subheading there. So the first thing that you might not know about me is that I am actually half Russian. The photo that I have there is of my grandparents, Nina and Alex, on their wedding day, and both Nina and Alex were refugees from Russia to New Zealand after the First World War. I have very little knowledge of my Russian heritage. Nina and Alex were understandably not super keen on discussing their previous life. They both went through super traumatic things during the war. My nana was in a concentration camp, and my granddad was a soldier for the Russian army, and it was obviously not something that they enjoyed discussing with us. So I know very little about any of my Russian heritage at all, which is a shame, but I fully understand why they didn't feel the need to speak about it. They were always super grateful for the life that they came to New Zealand and created for themselves. Very proud to have raised a beautiful family and been able to take care of that family, and they were always incredibly kind and generous people. So total role models for me. My Nana and Granddad, sadly neither are no longer with us, and every day I think about them and just the kindness and the strength that they have, the things that they have been through, and still come out the other side being loving, kind and generous people, just gives me so much strength on those days where I feel like I might not be doing my best. I think of Nana and Granddad and what they've been through, and know that I'm totally capable of getting through whatever it is that I am getting through. So that's my Nana and Granddad there. Two beautiful human beings, and very proud to call them my grandparents. Jack, his middle name is Alexander, actually named after my granddad, and I am so proud that he was and is gonna carry on that beautiful man's name. Just to jolt you back to the stamping for 1 second, the thing that I loved about this alpha set from Cocoa Daisy was that number stamp, and it occurred to me I can put no with the number, so I love that little tiny variety that brings. And I did start thinking then that maybe I would stamp the same number stamp for each of my 5 things, but it is quite large, and the gap that I've left for the actual journaling isn't huge, but it was something I was thinking about. So I do pop off and go and find another stamp set. I know that there's a stamp set from, it's a very old one from Citrus Twist that had numbers in it, and I was thinking that it had that same NO stamp, and it does. So that's the stamp set that I end up using to number my 5 things. So the second thing on here that you might not know about me is that I was raised in Central Otago, predominantly Wanaka, and that is the photo there of those beautiful poplar trees. Autumn is always a favourite time of mine in Central Otago. The colours are just magnificently beautiful, and this isn't actually from a photo from my childhood. I don't often go back to Wanaka, I will say. It's a very different place now to when I lived there. It's obviously a lot more tourist based now. When I lived in Wanaka, it wasn't quite that bad. There were certainly tourist seasons, but definitely nothing like it is now. So I don't often go back, but it is still one of my favorite places as far as the beauty of the place goes. Central Otago is an incredibly beautiful place, and Wanaka is one of my favorites there. So here's my little stamp set here. I'm using those tiny numbers just to add a bit more stamping to the page, also to give me a little bit less space to journal, because I am going to journal in my handwriting, and we all know how much I love doing that. And I decided to give myself the best shot at getting my journaling straight by using that little plastic journal guideline template that I had created for myself. I'm just going to rule these lines in pencil, and I can go ahead and erase those later on if I want to. So the third thing that you might not know about me, or maybe you do, I probably don't keep that too much of a secret, is that I am a total introvert. I'm pretty much as introverted as a person can get. Completely shy, completely introverted, a total homebody. But that being said, I love to travel. We don't travel a lot. It's not financially feasible for us, but when we do, I just love it. I'm not a fan of flying, I will say, but once we get to the place that we're going, I love exploring new places and trying new foods and just seeing how other people live. It is one of my true pleasures in life. We've seen quite a lot of New Zealand, and been to Australia a few times. My bucket list places to go to include Japan, and I would love to see some of France and Greece. So I've got a few places that we'd love to tick off. It's probably part more of our long-term plan rather than anything in the immediate future, but I do love seeing other places. Always a joy to come home again, though, I will say. My fourth thing that you might not know about me over on the right hand page is, you obviously know about Shane. Shane is my husband, and as much as I love paper crafting, Shane loves engine building. So Shane is not a mechanic. He has actually started working in the car industry this year, but his hobby is engine building. And over the 13 or so years that we've been together, I have absorbed a fair amount of mechanical knowledge, and I have probably helped him build and install, I would say, 5 or 6 V8 engines over that time. It's not something I enjoy personally myself, but I do love spending time with Shane, and I love helping him with the engines. So I've probably got a fair amount of knowledge tucked away in that brain. I think I surprise him even sometimes with how much I have actually absorbed over that time. And the last thing that you might not know about me is that I am a graphic designer. I have a degree in visual communications, which doesn't mean a lot, but I have been a graphic designer and that's why I stopped, because I actually had to go and find my degree to find out what year it was that I graduated and how long I've been doing this. And 15 years I've been a graphic designer. I've done all sorts of jobs as part of that. At the moment, I work freelance, which is why I work from home. I have a long-standing contract with an educational publisher. So at the moment, I do all sorts of design, but predominantly book design, and I do a lot of creative work for their social media accounts. So there you go, that's 5 things that I thought that you might not know about me. Let me know whether you did find any of that surprising, or whether I have actually mentioned these things previously before. This was a seriously fun page to put together, so I highly encourage you to think of 5 things about yourself and put them down on a page. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you again very soon.